Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for being patient with us and staying with us until the last panel discussion. I believe this is one of the most interesting panel discussion and very top one, I believe, until now. My name is Lucas. I am the investment director of the FinCorp Holding. So we have been investing in a couple of projects, hotel, hospitality around South Asia, and we just get into Vietnam with the hotel and resort and opening in the next 7 months. Let's start the panel discussion with my glance as an investment guy first, right? So for food and beverage, the food and beverage sectors in South Asia is worth it like $220 billion, which is incredible numbers, I believe. And in Vietnam is a $24 billion, as my study. So nowadays, you all see that the fine dining concept is contributing significantly within the industry and rather another concept. And people at this point, the fine dining concept is not stopping at imported truffle or a foie gras no longer, right? But other factors as well, for storytelling, other factors like the route, the retour, the story to tell, and so on and so forth, right? But how are we going to define those luxury in the market? That is the most important thing, right, in South Asia, and especially in Vietnam. So today I have another 5 panelists with the significant voice joining the panel with me. So let me add for the quick introduction about the panelists here. Gentlemen, just say something that people don't know about you, okay?
I look to fine dining in Vietnam. It has really changed. My family Vietnamese, so it's nice to see how in the last 27 years this country has really made a remarkable journey in food and beverage. So excited to be here.
I'm Dalat Boy. Left Vietnam as a refugee, was adopted. That's why I have the Franklin last name. I have 2 cats named Charlie and Ginger that I take care of.
Nice.
Good to know. That's very good. My name's Sam. I'm the chef of a tuna restaurant in the Le Méridien. Something people don't know about me.
What you say? Where is that?
Huh? That was a good question. I am from Australia, but I've actually lived outside of Australia longer than I lived in Australia. So I class myself as Asian now, Western Asian. Asian.
I'm Vasily. I work for Classic Fan Foods. Something that people might not know about me. My name is Greek, but I'm half French, half Belgium. And I've been in Vietnam for 10 years now, working in the wine industry before and in the food now for 6 years.
Right. So let's start our discussion. Let's start from my point. So as my job, right, I do traveling pretty a lot for the investment job, right? So in Europe and in USA and so on and so forth. So fortunately, I have some chance opportunity to go to different restaurants in Europe. The fine dining in Denmark, Copenhagen. So I do realize one thing, which is the fine dining concept in Europe, right, is normally integrated the heritage institution, right, the ritual, the culture, the society, the history, the long history of Europe, right? But in the meantime, South Asia, normally nowadays, right? We in the young chef, or the chefs in the regions like the Peter, like Sam's, and so on. So we inherit different factors, street food. I mean, to Peter, like street food, your favorite childhood memories, the story of your families, like where you come from, and so on and so forth, right? And that is creating your own cuisine language, isn't it? And then again, so much respect from the global, for sure. That's the reason why Michelin is coming and then leaving at work. So that is my point of view. So my first question is, what exactly, with the operators, the hotel operators, with the chef in the hotel, the Michelin chef, and the food supplies, is what difference, between the fine dining concept nowadays in Europe, right, where it's come from, comparing to South Asia, like Vietnam, let's say.
Lucky to be a lot more creative. You can think outside the box, all different flavors, so many different ingredients. I think they're just completely different, and they're very exciting to have the freedom to do whatever you want.
Right. So how do you think about Mr. Mark?
I think in Asia it's probably a little bit more faster evolving than in sharing cuisine. I think it has a little bit more in depth in food presentations and palate. Right. Not saying that the Western cuisine does have. And I think food trends now also showing that people they go much more for a little bit more informality, and I think that for formal dining, even if it still may some exist, I think just a little bit more the casual feel, and what we spoke about before in the sessions, it's not just the food, but it is also the whole ambience, the sommeliers. It's just not in the original days you went to a restaurant and eat 4 or 5 courses menus, and I think that's slowly evolving into more local cuisine, more local ingredients, and more casual.
Right. What do you think about the differences between your concept and all the concept in Europe?
Yeah, sometimes I'm not sure what exactly is fine dining. I think particularly when we talk about Asia, Vietnam, the traditional fine dining models really follow the French model with you have the amuse-bouche and then small dishes, then you have your small little appetizer, you move to a fish dish, then meat dish, you go to petit four, then cheese course, and so on. But I think when we look at Vietnam or South or Asia, it's a very different approach, and we don't have that format. So how to interpret that, how to value that within that context, what people understand as the traditional fine dining. For me, if I eat on the street and the lady really takes care of the food, cook with love, and I go to a certain place where if she can watch it, if you're right-handed or left-handed, you put your chopstick in different location. She has a little bit of rubber band for ladies to tie up their hair so they can get wet in the noodles. The men will get more noodle than the ladies and so on. So there's a lot of care and attention and love that goes into food. And I think at the heart of really, a great dining experience about that. And so sometimes we get stuck in this very formal, rigid structure, and all this storytelling too. So I find it a bit overwhelming. I think, and I'm not sure what other guests expect, but you go to eat and you can go to a storytelling session. To sit there for 3 hours. And they talk about 30 minutes before you get to eat the dish. When meanwhile the dish is getting cold. And on the other side, I think it's not only the restaurant, but the customer now have a certain expectation. Sometimes I bring out the dish, they say, "Oh, chef, can you explain the dish?" And I feel like, just eat the fucking dish, All right? Then you can ask me a question afterwards. So I think sometimes we will have to really relook, because I think there's all this formal rigid structure of the way things should be, both from the guests and sometimes for the restaurant, that we follow these rules. And I think as a chef, we want to be creative, we want to do something new, we want to do different. Sometimes that means we had to break away from some of the structure. And sometimes you do something different, it's a little bit harder for people to accept. And especially for us, we're based, in a 5-star hotel, we're in a wet market. So that's quite a big thing when people come to experience that. So I think, so it's when we're talking about redefining fine dining or high-level cooking, I think people have to relook at it and see, particularly when they come to a place like Vietnam or Southeast Asia.
You're telling me that mean you did a very great job, for getting to the journey of Michelin, right?
Well, when I opened AnAn Saigon 8 years ago, I was working in Hong Kong and I needed a change. I just wanted to open a small little restaurant, so I ended up with this narrow 2 building that's 5-story high, and what the hell am I going to do with this thing, So we started building it slowly. But one thing that when I came back, I did notice that when you look at Vietnamese cuisine or what's done in Vietnam, even outside of Vietnam, has always been about, trying to capture the tourists or the travelers, so looking at like authentic cuisine, home cooking, and all this stuff. No one was really trying to do anything new, different with the Vietnamese cuisine. So to some extent, we're quite restricted by that whole authenticity idea. When people come, if you make a dish that's somehow a little bit different, let's say you make pho, bánh mì, that's a little bit different from what people expect, then they say, "Oh, that's not authentic, it's not real. I'm going to get the authenticity police to come and arrest you." So that's always a challenge, whereas I think all the cuisine, let's say what Sam is doing, he has a lot more freedom to express what he wants to do. But let's say when we're in Vietnam, particularly as a Vietnamese person, or we want to cook Vietnamese food, there's a lot of borders and restriction on what people expect from us. You know, so I think so that's one of the big challenges on how do we be creative and try to do something new, but still, you know, we make food for the guests for them to enjoy. So we create a restaurant, so we don't want to go out of business. So when I opened for 6 months, we had no customers, but you know, after a while we had some customers coming in, but not everyone can afford to do that. You know, so we have to do somehow connect with the guests, get them to understand what we're trying to create and to appreciate, and then thirdly, also to pay. So, you know, price point is also a big issue. People come to Vietnam, they spend thousands of dollars, but they want to spend looking for the $1 bánh mì or the 60,000 dong pho. That's all they're going to do. You know, so they eat 10 of them. Then at the end, they can say, "Okay, I'm going to tell you what the best bánh mì in Vietnam is." So we still have that mentality a lot. So I think when we're talking to this conference about, you know, Vietnam as a destination for luxury fine dining, we're still quite far away from that. The conception is still, you know, Vietnamese. Yes, we have great street food. It's one of the best in the world. But you know, within the last 5-7 years. It's evolved a lot. We have young local chefs doing a lot of things in Hanoi, in Nang, in Saigon. We have international chefs like Sam and other people, Vietnamese, who are trying abroad to come back. So it's quite diverse now, but the world doesn't really understand it as such, or hasn't caught up to that.
What we had before, and in 10 years already, like, things moved fast forward. We went to like very traditional markets, like people really love Vietnamese cuisine, and now we see more and more interest into elevated cuisine. So now it's about how we can keep the tradition, keep the nice local story, keep really the experience, the Vietnamese experience, but make it into a fine dining experience. So our job as a supplier is to try to bring imported products, but not to change the recipes, and to keep like really the typical Vietnamese food. But yeah, I think Vietnam has been doing a very good job by keeping a tradition, but moving to a fine dining experience and keeping it more casual.
I think if one of the things for the particular bigger hotels like us is hygiene standards. So food hygiene standards. I think also where the products come from. Sourcing of local ingredients, but also knowing that the local ingredients actually are, if they're, say, sustainable, that are truly sustainable. And I think the rest is a lot about training and consistency. So that if Chef 1 cooks, and Chef 1 takes a day off and Chef 2 cooks, that the dishes have basically consistency. That's particular for us in the field, in the larger hotels.
Sure. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, people come, so you do need to live up to that. But I think it's trying to be original. Especially being somewhere like in a market that's so new, it's trying to be original and authentic, and trying to really, like for me, I can't cook Vietnamese food at all, but the way I try and be original is maybe I'll use a Vietnamese ingredient and try and do something different sort of this way.
So, yes.
Yeah, it's been original, not copying other people, trying to do something different to everyone else.
We spend more time with the guests. As we're talking about the food, it's not just only the food, is the service, is the food, is theater that because we have an open kitchen, right? So just hanging out and just talking to the guests, seeing what their plans are, what we can share with them to have a wonderful trip within Phú Quốc, right? So, and then just educating the guests, I think, is very important, to share the information with ingredients, where things are from, why we're using it. So that because our guests in Regent, it's not only Vietnamese guests, but it's very international. So a lot of international guests comes, and they compare us with other international places that they've been to, right? So that's right away, they will have a comparison right away. But just being authentic to us and what we can do for them there is a little bit more personalized.
You know, certainly, let's say the day after we get Michelin, we'll see the same restaurant, but certainly the perception is completely different now. You know, they come and they say, you know, they take the photos outside, do the film, and say, okay, I'm going to do a review of this restaurant. Is it going to be worthy of Michelin-star restaurant or not? You know. But first, it looks like it's in a wet market. It looks kind of dirty. I see dogs and cats everywhere. So we already got some minus points already. And of course, our restaurant's also really tight. We're not traditional tables, really small. It's a very vibrant atmosphere, maybe too vibrant for some people. You know, they expect to be really quiet and subdued in a traditional Michelin restaurant. For example, we are none of this. They expect tablecloth. We don't have anything on the table, nothing. So we only have local staff who wear casual clothing. And of course, we put a lot of effort into the food, and that's what we focus on. But I think, you know, sometimes it's you have to wait for the guests to catch up to you, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Right. You know, I think, because. You know, so let's say about the Michelin, we did not change anything. We didn't move into a bigger space and buy expensive silverware or anything like that. We kept the same in terms of who we are. Certainly, we improved the quality a lot in terms of the cooking and the service, everything else. Anything that we could improve, we have improved because, you know, Michelin put a certain standard expectation in there, and that, of course, we have to follow a certain global standard at the same time. We can't ignore. But at the same time, we are very unique and we do what we do. So that's always the challenge on how to define that and how to really get the guests to appreciate what we do. And sometimes it's just a question of sometimes patient, waiting for the right people to come. There are some people that are not the right customer for us, and we don't try to please everyone. Otherwise, you know, we would not be who we are.
Right. You know, like a logistic and supply chain for the food. Whenever you want to keep the food like you get food like consistently, right? Sometimes the food ingredient is not there, or the customer and the behavior or the perception may change and so on and so forth, right? So that is my point of view in terms of like implementing the fine dining concept in Vietnam. So what is your thought about the challenge in your place?
How are we going to get the idea for the execution? So first is how to get the products. There's a lot of regulation. There's a lot of difficulties to import some products in Vietnam. Let's talk about, for example, super fresh items. Many chefs, they arrive from Hong Kong, they arrive from Singapore. They're used to get products every day by plane. In Vietnam, it's different. It's much harder to get products. So now we're getting more and more suppliers in town, which is good. You have more and more products. So I think the chefs have enough to play around and create like great menus. I think now the most challenge we have in Vietnam is about perception. How Vietnamese fine dining is perceived. We had since 3 years the Michelin star in Vietnam, and some restaurants got 1 star, and I hear many comments, oh yes, but 1 star in Saigon is not the same as 1 star in Paris. I think it's a matter of perception as well, because 1 star is 1 star, they deserve it, they have a high quality behind, a lot of work.
Right.
So it's just a matter of how to make sure we have more and more visibility in Vietnam, so that people perceive hardworking people in Vietnam as much as in any other cities.
Get a job that people can be proud of to be, and that they should be proud of to be great chefs.
Right, sure.
I think that is, for our industry, very important, because food and beverage always has been seen, if you work in food and beverage, maybe you didn't do this and this in your educational part. I think we need to really work on making it proud to be a chef and educate that also, and let chefs be the stars of the restaurants.
Right. So it sounds like a competitive market at some time, you know, for the fine dining concept in Vietnam, right? People know the potential of it. So I think the key of making a successful restaurant right now at some point is the innovation, right? Innovation, which is creating, right? I believe that innovation right now is not stopping at something that creating something new that's surprising the customer, but also, you know, giving the connection, right? Whenever I come to the restaurant, when I come to your restaurant like a couple of weeks ago, then I always feel in the plating, you know, all the ingredient, all the technique, and always is a dialogue, you know, it's a convo between the conversation between the chef, you know, to diners like us, right? Come, you know, like we come to enjoy the food, right? But still keep the innovation right there. And then we see a lot of young chefs, you know, from abroad go back to Vietnam, create a stunning concept. But how we gonna manage the innovation concept, you know, like the technique in the F&B fine dining, but keep it like how to say, keep it meaningful still with your DNA, but not go over, like be realistic, like innovation. I saw some concept. It's nice on the word, but actually when we execute, it's not so nice, right? So how are we going to manage innovation?
That's where it gets tricky. You need to just, I don't know, it's hard. You have to be creative, and you also have to, I guess, read the guests and read the market. You can go crazy and try and go way over the top and try and give someone a really big show, but the guests aren't into that. It's not going to work. You've got to go your baby steps at a time to get to sort of that level. And people need to also understand that. They sort of expect chefs to jump in and go to that top level straight away. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of training. It's a lot of things going on just to execute something.
You can see some beautiful things, right? But when you eat it, then it's soulless, let's just say, right? And you put a lot of time, effort into it, but it just doesn't touch the person. Let's just say our guests, right? Where I see it is I always try to create something that is something that can connect with the guests, let's say, but in a different way, in a different perspective. They know what it is, right? They know what it is through the name, but when they eat it, it's something a little new to them, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, right? And slowly the innovation and the feeling that the guests get, right? I think is very important compared to just like big show overall. And the dinner's done and they don't have anything else to take home with them. Let's just say.
I think stay true to the basics, right? Because sometimes if the basics are right, and sometimes artisancy, and I personally find sometimes too much fusion is too much confusion. So where do you have that line? So stay authentic to a certain cuisine, and if you have an Italian restaurant, stay Italian and don't start serving sprinkles on it. So how do you stay into
create a confusion, right?
That's what I do.
Right.
I create confusion.
Right. So like let's move on to other practice, right? When we all have a lot of innovation in the market, right? For example, with chapters, yung, so like great, stunning concept, I love it. And then we come to the recognitions, at work recognition. Let's say we have a couple at work, the qualified workers coming into Vietnam, for example, the Rob report, the Gourmet top 25 restaurants, or we have the Michelin just came in for last 3 years, right? I believe that the chef, yes, the one in, you just have now, the chef at work, the ninth one. Right, yeah, right. So, when I feeling, right, even I feeling when at work is having given to a couple of restaurants or any outlet, right? That is a double side of the sword, right? It could be beneficial for other aspects, right? Gaining tourists good for the country. It's good for hiring the talent, even in the remote area. It's good for the restaurant community at some point, right? And your own exposure in the market, right? But it's also giving a sort of pressure to the owner and the chef at the same time, right? I believe that everybody's having a big pressure. Whenever somebody get, hey, hello, this is Michelin for you, and then what are you going to do, right? You feel pressure. You're proud and you pressure at the same time, right? So how you gonna manage? Like the pressure within the internal and external, keep moving, and how you managing like the internal communication in your outlet, right? And then with the work, right? I saw that in Bali. Like you have a Michelin like at work for the Bali Riscon also in Bali too, right? I believe that is a big one. Basically, also giving pressure for the hotel operator at the same time to keep it and maintain it, even like develop in the next couple of years, right? So that is very intense. So how are we going to manage those?
Get recognized when you talk about Michelin, there are very few, 50 best, very few, and even Thailand 100, it's a regional. And then there are a whole bunch of other restaurants that don't get the recognition. They're also great, but they don't get the support that they need. And then I think secondly, sometimes I think the restaurant or sometimes the chef focus too much then on just try to chase after star, chase after these awards, rather than really the customer experience. Let's say, what do I got to do to get these awards? Let's say, okay, what's the formula to get a Michelin star? So I'm going to do that rather than trying to make a dish, make a menu that people really enjoy, you know. So that's a risk with the awards, and particularly with people who focus too much on chasing the awards.
Right.
But I think at the same time, you know, certainly in Vietnam, we need to be more connected to the rest of the world outside, and we need that exposure. We need international guests to come here as well to enjoy, appreciate what we're doing. So these awards help to, you know, bring the restaurant, the chef, and what we do here onto the global international stage, which is very important.
Right.
So I think, so sometimes I'm not sure sometimes, you know, it's in terms of the amount of time, effort that we put into trying to make some of these awards happy, and different people have different level of focus on how much they do. I'm not sure whether it's a healthy thing, you know, and I think there's maybe there's just too many awards at the moment. There's so many damn awards everywhere, you know, right? So what does it mean after a while?
It's like, means like at the end of the day, so we're gonna thinking who we're gonna cook for, right?
Well, sometimes we forget that that's the fact, that we're supposed to cook some good food for people to enjoy.
Right.
And I think a lot of people sometimes forget that.
Right.
You know, it's so I think that's the problem. Because there's so many awards out there, and people want recognition, they want affirmation for what they're doing. Of course, it's fair, but still, I think the amount of energy that goes into that takes away from what needs to be put on the plate, and to focus on, okay, will that my customer really enjoy this dish or not, rather than, oh, I think this award, they want this kind of stuff in here, this type of ingredient, they want me to present this way. I have to do, let's say, I have to deduct 3 ways. Then I have to have all kinds of garnish on the plate so it looks good. Meanwhile, you spend about 80% of the time on that, and you forget about the main ingredient and the sauce that goes with it.
Right.
You know, so I think, I think that's the problem.
Right, sure.
I think, and of course, every day now we are more focused on awards. They get bigger, the more them come.
Right. Sam, what do you think?
So,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Peter. It is a double-edged sword. On one side, it's amazing because it brings bums on seats. People, I mean, Michelin, for instance. I mean, when we first opened, we were not busy at the start. After Michelin, people then know about the restaurant.
Right.
So it's good in that sense, but then, yeah, you're right. Some chefs, I mean, even when I was younger, I remember when I opened my first restaurant, I was just cooking to try and win awards, because I thought that's what you do. I thought that's what you did. And the food was shit. I didn't know what I was doing. And I just thought all I cared about was trying to make, I wanted to get that award or this award.
Right.
And then you get older and you realize it's amazing for your business, it's good for marketing, good for everything. But at the end of the day, you need to be cooking good food. If you don't have bums in the restaurant, there is no restaurant, no matter how many awards you have.
Just simplify, just make the good food at the end of the day, that's it, right?
You just go for it. If you get it, amazing. If you don't get it,
If you compare it with markets like Bangkok, Hong Kong, Paris, I think it's yes, like I said, it's like a double-edged sword, right? For tourism department can use it to promote, they should promote it. I think the Vietnam tourism department doesn't do enough to promote it. I think those awards should also be more regulated by the tourism department than by private institutions, but that's a different topic. But I think if they really would focus on that, but at the same time, don't get too many awards, so there's too many trees in the forest, you don't see which award counts anymore. Right?
I just had a conversation with you just now earlier about like whatever happened in hotel, you know, hospitality projects in the next 10 years, right? So very potentially happening. So with you guys' plans, so how they find that in concepts and like look like, you know, in the next 5 years, 10 years with you guys? I know there's potential, yes, but how potential in you guys' perception? Just wrap up that panel discussion. How do you think? As an operator first.
I think fine dining is not the traditional white tablecloths with the candelabra and waiter with a bow tie. I think that's passé. I think food and beverage keep evolving. I think people now look much more beyond the taste. Where's the food from, sustainability, the whole story, sommeliers, local product. And I think also it's become a bit more casual. I think fine dining, but many people still, in particular Vietnam, means I need to dress up, I need to sit there for 3 hours. I think that's not fine dining. I think fine dining is just good food with good people, good wine, and at affordable prices. Fine dining also doesn't have to be, in my opinion, like priced like
Right.
crazy, because that's not fine dining.
How you think about the supply chain? You know, like you gotta know one who know exactly how the food, you know, loaded into the Vietnam, right? So.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mark. People want like good food. Fine dining is good food with good people. That's only what you need. The thing is, you have also full experience, and I see more and more like everyone is creating like an experience around the food. It's more about how to have like the storytelling about the story about the product, story about the dish, story about the chef. It's more about understanding the full concept. And we are in talk every day with chef, and we see like every time they have like crazy ideas that I love, and we try to accommodate as much as possible. But we see like people are getting more and more creative, more and more into creating new things, unique. So yeah, I think Vietnam is starting to have its own identity.
Right.
To have like really like their own Vietnamese fine dining scene. So very interesting.
Andy, how do you think?
Definitely growing right in the right direction. Within, you said that within the next 5 years or so, and that's one of the reasons why I came back also, just to be a part of this growth within Vietnam and bring something back, the experience and sharing the experience with the team and developing them. I think is very important, developing the next generation within Vietnam to grow and also to go international.
Sure, yeah, right. Getting the Vietnam in the cuisine map right of that region. So, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's only getting better and better. There's young chefs coming in, young chefs that are working for elegance, white tablecloth. Fine dining can also be, you can have more casual restaurants that are still at the sort of fine dining level. So I think it's growing. A lot of development's happening. And what I love about here is the customers are open-minded, the chefs are quite creative. I think it's only getting better and better.
When you compare it to, let's say, Thailand and Singapore, Hong Kong, other markets in the region, so we need to, I think, look beyond fine dining. And I think we need to look at street food, the casual restaurant, hotel restaurant. We have young Vietnamese chefs doing many different things. We have more international chefs like Sam and Andy coming back. We need more VQ to come back and do more things here. The environment needs to be more friendly for them to set up business. And, and then we have, now we have regional cuisine. We have Young doing stuff in Hanoi. We have other people doing Phú Quốc in Nha Trang. So we have this very diverse regional food that's developing. So we need, and then on all this, so we need the diversity, and then we also need the depth as well too, in terms of, yes, so we need at some point to have a restaurant in Vietnam that can get 2 stars, 3 stars.
Right.
So we still, I think, away from that, right? So we need to improve on both sides, so depth and quality. So that, as when we think about Vietnam as a destination, so that people can go and enjoy all these different things, to have different types of experiences. It doesn't always have to be this formal fine dining, if they can, if they want to. But, let's say, they don't have to have Vietnamese food. They can do, let's say, Australian fusion or something else, or Japanese or some other cuisine. So we need more of these things. Because people need to eat many different things. So I think we still need to develop a lot to do that. And I think, let's say if someone comes to Saigon and they say, okay, Peter, where should I go? Where else should I go and eat?
My restaurant.
Right? So no, they already eat my restaurant already. Usually they sit in my restaurant and say, okay, I got 1 more night, 2 more nights, where else should I go?
Yeah.
And I think it was Monday night, shit, forget it, and everyone's closed. So you just go to a hotel restaurant. But, so I think so we have to have different types of enjoyable experiences that are unique to Saigon, to Vietnam, so that, let's say, when we have guests come, which we have a lot, we can say, okay, you should go to, this restaurant, that restaurant. You can have different types of experiences, and I don't think we have enough at this stage.
Right, sure.
Certainly not compared to, let's say, Thailand, Hong Kong, or Singapore, so we still have a way to go.
Right. So, I think we like there's a time limit, so I believe that this panel discussion have been wrapped up a lot of angles of the industry from a challenge, potential, and the outlook in the next 5 years. So yeah, so do we still have time for Q&A or are we done?
We're done.
We're done. Okay, thank you very much. We're just done. We're just done.
It has been more than 3 hours, so it's quite long, but it has been wonderful insights, panel discussion. Everyone, please give our panelists and moderator a big round of applause. Thank you very much.